Oh, good morning,
morning,
folks.
America. How are you this morning?
I'm okay. How about you, brother?
I'm good. We're waiting for our guests. Addie Stamanova, board certified family nurse practitioner, to discuss today's topic. I like the chicken or the duck. I gave her the option of calling in too if she can't log in.
All right. Well, hopefully, but if not, we'll just continue on with something else. What are we doing today, Rennie?
We're going to do human trafficking. We're going to discuss the movie Son of Freedom Project.
Okay. And if that doesn't work,
next topic will be, is the electoral fix already in? I believe it is.
Okay. We all want to hear from you folks out there, so we have a phone number. Call the show, 508-974-4231. If you would like to talk to either of us, our sparkling personalities this morning on a Sunday here. If not, that's okay too. You can just listen.
Yep. So, well, I guess why don't we go with I gave her the option of calling in. I haven't heard back.
Okay. Well, so you had something on the interview with Matt Taibbi interview with
Matt Taibbi, yeah.
And
he was on with Will Kane, and he had discussed. Well, the name of the movie is the Son of Freedom Project. He had been on with Will Kane.
My chicken doesn't give a cluck. Their Facebook user.
And apparently Obama and other officials in 2020 were table topic and exercise. And Taibbi has the documents to prove it, to overthrow Trump if he was in fact declared the winner. And I find it ironic that was their plan, and the only reason it didn't come to fruition is because they stole the election. And now today, they're trying to put Trump in jail for the exact same thing that they were planning. So Democrats are saying that fixes in to protect democracy. Democracy is already being canceled. We just, I guess, really haven't admitted the implications of it to ourselves yet.
There's so much controversy about this whole subject, and this is my personal opinions on all of this nonsense. Joe Biden's been a failed politician ever since the very beginning. He really hasn't. He hasn't accomplished nothing in his 50-year career. His entire career has been nothing but lies and misinformation and distraction and deflection. It's been caught so many times, and nobody does anything about it. I mean, we all know that in general, politicians are somewhat lacking in integrity and moral fiber. But I mean, this guy's just completely out of control. And where we're at now, though, I don't want to see him fail because of his age and mental decline and all that. I want to see him fail because he's taking deliberate steps to destroy our nation, and the decisions that he's making are going to hurt all of us.
Yeah.
So, elections, we'll see what happens with the next election. What was it Trump said just recently? Something about he doesn't want revenge. He just wants what the results will be for the next election. So hopefully.
Well, I find it ironic. On Sunday, January 14th, NBC ran with an eye-catching story. Fears grow that Trump will use the military in dictatorial ways if he returns to the White House. And they're taking what Trump said. Remember when Trump said on day one, I'll be a dictator?
Yeah, for 1 day.
It'll only be for 1 day.
Yeah.
To undo everything that Biden has done. But NBC News took it a step further. And now they're going around saying that Trump statement is he's going to use the military. And they're actually, lawmakers are in public interest groups are actually quietly drafting plans to foil any efforts to expand presidential powers should Donald Trump get elected.
Yep. Yep. Well, and wait a minute now. Expand presidential powers? And what do you mean?
To limit.
No, to limit. Yeah.
To limit to foil any attempts to expand. So limit.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. There's not much they won't do to maintain power.
We're about 30 seconds away from the Armageddon clock when it comes to democracy.
Yeah.
You know, there's no denying that, and there's no denying the fact that if you're a liberal or a leftist, that you're looking at Trump as a clear and present danger to democracy.
Well, he's a clear and present danger to Democrats.
And even the former CIA chief, Leon Panetta, said, like any good dictator, he's going to try to use the military to basically perform his will. So there's a whole bunch of bad information getting out there right now.
It really is.
Yeah, because his former aide, his name keeps slipping my mind. But he said one of three things is going to happen to Trump. The courts are going to keep him off the ballot. He's not going to have enough delegates. B, even if he does, they're going to prosecute him, make sure he gets put in jail. Or C, if that don't work, then they're going to assassinate him. So there's an all effort to stop Donald Trump right now, and it's sad. They're already putting together a team, I heard, to think through the most damaging types of things that Trump might do. So they're ready to bring lawsuits if they had to. Can you believe that?
Oh, yeah, I completely believe it.
Huh?
Yeah, I believe it completely. One of the things Democrats are best at doing is deflecting. So pretty much everything that they accuse Trump of doing, or anybody else, Republicans, whomever, are things that they've already done.
Yeah. I believe we have a phone caller on the line.
Okay. Good morning, over there.
Morning. We are.
Yes, good morning. I'm sure you know me. It's your old friend, Mr. B. I want to stop pussyfooting around this issue. I want to ask you straightforward, without any muck or alphabet soups or whatever else you want to call it. Can you tell the people how close we are to political uprising and a bloody purge?
Okay, Mister, I'm gonna let you prove it to yourself right now. Have you got Alexa by any chance?
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Have you got Alexa?
A lecture?
Alexa.
No, I do not have a lecture.
Alexa.
No, Alexa.
Amazon Alexa.
Oh, no, I do not. I do not.
Right. Okay, I just tried it this morning. We got Addie on the line, by the way. But anyway, I went and asked Alexa this morning, Alexa, are we going to have an election in 2024? And she said, I don't know. I can't answer that.
Yeah. That's like the Siri version of Amazon, because Mr. B is what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty scary stuff, because she usually has an answer for everything. So that
It's just a little disconcerting.
Yeah, that algorithm has determined that there's not enough information to reach a decision, kind of like all the rest of us. But Mr. B, to answer your question about a bloody purge, it's not going to come from the conservative side. I think if it starts, it's going to be on the progressive liberal side, because Antifa and BLM and all the rest of them are just waiting in the bushes right now for a spark to set this fire. And I'm really hoping that the conservatives are going to keep a cooler head, and cooler heads are going to prevail, and not be provoked by these knuckleheads. But who knows? The world's all fucked up right now anyway, so who knows?
Yeah. Oh. Thank you for your best information, gentlemen. Love the show.
Thank you, Mr. B. Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. B.
All right, Blaze Man, let's bring on Addie.
Who is Mr. P?
Mr. B. He has his own show, but he frequently calls into ours. Hey,
Oh, okay.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Hey, what's going on? Good to see you.
So
You
good.
too.
It's great to see you.
It feels my chicken's happy to see you too.
Why don't you give the audience a brief introduction, and then we can get on with what we had planned.
Right. So, hello. My name is Addie. I'm a nurse practitioner. I work in public health. I do a lot of basically side consulting for businesses as far as both health and safety. Of course, I love the health stuff. I like people, I like recreation, and I love safety because, again, I work in public health. So I kind of get to see a lot. I see a great population of people, whether it's the homeless, whether it's the billionaires, whether it's, these righties, lefties, whatever. I see the whole world basically of as far as socioeconomic categories go, because I'm in the field a lot. I work, I visit people in their homes. I see their situations, family. I collect a lot of information about, basically not just their health, right, but their socioeconomics as well, and see what people are struggling with these days. And I also see a lot of various interesting clients, rare medical conditions, rare situations. I see some of, I see a lot of families of abuse victims, dark situations, tough situations, that sort of thing. I've worked a lot with, I see the immigration or the migrant influx and what's going on. I see some of these folks. I've seen some of them who have been brought over here in like boxes and stuff and just dropped off, Anyway, so it's a great, and then I see a lot of well-off clients too who, don't struggle with much except, of course, their health. So I love public health because, again, I get to see the whole of humanity really and hear people's stories. Because, of course, every human experience is like a subjective view versus objective. And I love research. I love collecting information and being able to help really tough situations. So to sum it up, yeah, I love what I do. I work in public health, medicine, and also consulting.
Okay,
So,
well, you run a really good.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, you run a really good anti-human trafficking group on Facebook, and that's pretty much what we're going to be talking. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be dealing specifically with the Sound of Freedom, the movie. We're going to run some clips and just have a long discussion about that. Now, I think the last time you and I talked, you indicated you hadn't seen it or didn't really want to or were uncomfortable with it.
Some of the parts are very tough just because, again, so I see some of these children when they're a little older, and they tell me like how they still don't know really what happened to them. They're still not able to process really because they get sucked in with the teddy bears and the toys and, so it's really tough for me because I know how the whole process works. But I did see some parts, right? It's just certain other parts I just had to completely shut off because, well, it gets to me. It gets to my gut because, again, I see these situations and they work way too well on kids, right? So it's a really tough subject. I did try to go through some of a lot of the scenes, so I know basically mostly of what happens. I just kind of
blocked that out.
blocked out a lot. Well, not, but I just kind of just like side viewed or like, I just didn't really want to get too into it because, again, it's just too easy and I know how this works.
Right.
So it gets to me when it comes to the kids.
Addie, before we start, let me ask you this question. How prevalent is human trafficking here in the Northeast?
In New Hampshire alone, I mean, there's thousands of cases actually. They keep going up when the numbers really should be going down. New Hampshire has their own website actually. If you go on DHS, Reen, there's there. Let me just pull it up right now so we see it. Hold on one second. So let's go to, and I'll give you the exact. So DHS. So each state should have Department of Health and Safety and Human Services, right? So under there, if you search up your state and Department of Health and Human Services, and then specifically type in human trafficking, they give you a report. Now, the report's not the most recent. So in New Hampshire, they give you, let's see, New Hampshire. Oh, yeah, so that's not even accurate. So the most recent, according to the trafficking hotline, New Hampshire has an actual 112, but 366 victims, and that's again not from this year. Now, if you go to NHDHHS, they have their own reporting line. So it really depends on which statistics you look at. The national hotline, yeah, that's way too low because there's definitely closer to like 1,000 at least. But they'll tell you in the hundreds, if that makes sense.
What's reported? That's yeah. That's not that's just what's reported. That has no. That's not
exactly, and that's also, I believe that's the ones they've actually identified as an actual case, because you have to have all like 3 elements of a human trafficking case in order to capture it.
Since you brought that up, what are the 3 elements of a human trafficking case?
So I like discussing this in my classes to people when I teach the stuff. Basically, there's a huge difference when people hear the word trafficking. They think migration, movement, but the case is that it's not just movement, because you can carry a person across state to state, but you don't have the other element. So you can kidnap someone, but that's just the crime of kidnapping. Does that make sense? Now, in order to make it a human trafficking, you have to have services performed against the person's will, right? So whether that's labor, whether that's sex, whether it has to be against someone's will with either coercion or bribery, trickery. A lot of the time, like if you use the sound of freedom, with children, it becomes actually, they're not aware that this is a crime. Like, it can be something like with a toy or a candy, So anyway, you have to have the actual aspect of coercion and against the person's will, and the performing of services. So it's not as simple as, you just drag and kidnap someone. They have to actually perform an act. And when it comes to children, by the way, it's always a crime. Because again, the children are not aware,
Right.
So actually, anything pertaining to minors under the age of 18 does, if it was against their will and they performed any sort of act of like, whether it's labor, sexual things, that sort of thing, then that becomes an issue automatically.
Now, you and I have shared many cups of coffee and had many discussions. Didn't you once tell me that human trafficking can also occur within a family unit, within the household?
Yeah, so there's different levels. There's domestic, which of course that becomes not easily reported, right? Because you have it's in the home. So let's say someone is locked up in their home. Like, let's take, the story of like Rapunzel in a tower. Most people know this princess story, but it's like, the witch kidnaps her, whenever, locks her up in the tower. If Rapunzel does housework, like cleaning, always sweeping, and she's locked up against her, well, she's not necessarily going to escape that tower, right? So she's going to be stuck there. And that's a domestic type of thing, because again, she's performing services that she's unaware of. Like in the Rapunzel story, she has like magic hair, like long hair, and she serves the witch, whatever, so that's just one, the best example I have of how to explain that principle. Basically, domestic is it occurs someone close to you. So whether that's family, aunts, uncles, a lot of the time, even in the foster system, or let's say with the drug epidemic going on right now, there's a lot of cases where another family member has to take over the child's care, right? So like an aunt, an uncle, a grandma, a grandpa, and necessarily, those people might be holding that child in the home, and they could become the traffickers, because if they're involved with any sketchy business, well, of course, that child's gonna get suckered into it. And also, be stuck in the home. So the whole sleuth of domestic category, it's just now being explored more because, again, these are the most unreported, really difficult to actually capture these cases because, again, you need to get proof that something occurred. If you scroll on the TIP report, the trafficking in person, there should be just on that. Yep. Awesome. That's why those cases are really difficult and they don't always get reported because, it takes a lot of efforts. It takes a lot of tips. It takes a lot of calls to children's services. And most of the time, it's just difficult because, again, it just takes multiple efforts. And you don't expect it because it's someone in the home.
Based on your experiences, how much effort does law enforcement really put into investigating something like this?
So they always do respond. I've called a lot, right? I think I spoke to you, Reen, about, I had a family in a motel that definitely the children were in a subpar living situation. And I made phone calls.
I remember you calling me about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I made an effort to contact both the state, the CPS and also, health services, and also, of course, a call to EMS, right? Because I knew if there's a call to EMS, then there's a quicker response, there's a paper trail. So, emergency services, the police, the ambulance, fire department, all those folks will always respond, right? But they act on scene and to what they come into, right? So their job is just to come in and respond to what the phone call is about, right? Now, when it comes to like investigation, that becomes a trickier subject because I wanted to see a lot of these cases get solved right away, right?
Yeah.
I wanted a solution like ASAP where, I knew something like fishy was going on and I just wanted the bad folks to be arrested, right? Or the children to be taken to safety, stuff like that. So it really depends on what situation they come upon. It's either, a blessing if they are able to intervene right away because, again, when it comes to like child abuse, you have to have all these elements in place. And when it comes to domestic trafficking or even child abuse, stuff like that, sadly a lot of people who know about crime or in the system seem to know how to cover up the scene, right? Because that's when EMS comes on scene or any of these child services people, good folks who would help out if the crime was evident, right? But if you masquerade the crime, then I'm afraid that, it's not as simple as emergency response because you need a trail, you need the legality of it, and you need to be able to prove your case.
Yeah.
I think you guys know that. I think
we're going to run our video for context here in just a minute. Hey, Addie, Mr. B has a question. Is there a distinction between human trafficking and domestic violence if the acts are between married dedicated adults?
Yeah, there is, because again, with the trafficking, the victim has to be performing some sort of act against their will, right? In a violence case, one person is inflicting the violence, but the other person isn't doing anything. Does that make sense? Yes. So, let's say you have a child in the home and the mom is doing like online OnlyFans pornography or something. She does online videography of herself, right? Let's say she beats her kid. That would be abuse, right? But let's say she were to use that child in the video with her or something, then that becomes, an act committed to the actual child. Does that make sense? Or if she were, to harm the kid, again, that's abuse. That's sexual abuse. That's the battery, assault, that sort of thing. But and if she's profiting off of it and if there's services used, like if that child shows up on screen, on camera in that video, then that would be a trafficking situation. I hope that kind of helps to separate because people get those two confused a lot, between domestic abuse and actual domestic trafficking.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff. Those are good questions, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Producer, if you want to play the first clip, go ahead. We're ready for it.
I don't think I can do this job, Tim. As soon as I lay down, all I see are those kids' faces. How long you been doing this? 12 years. How do you do it?
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's gonna pass the drug trade.
Señor Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? Quizá puedas ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
Imagine walking into a room right now, seeing an empty bed. What would we do?
We're Homeland Security. You know we can't go off rescuing kids in Colombia.
This job tears you to pieces. This is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
We're talking about extracting an 11-year-old girl from an army of rebels.
Not just her. I'm talking about rescuing hundreds of kids.
She could be a block down the road, or she could be in Moscow, Bangkok, LA.
Over 2 million children a year are being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. If we do nothing, someday it's gonna reach the likes of you. What if this was your daughter?
Wherever I go, I'll find my way home.
It's powerful. I want to get your opinions here on Addie just in a minute about all this stuff, but now 2 of my daughters are Colombian, and my wife also. They have personal knowledge of all this stupid shit, especially in Colombia. So far, Rosa, my wife doesn't want to watch this movie. I understand that. Both daughters have watched it. My oldest daughter took her daughter, my granddaughter, to see it also. And as she's walking in, she was assailed by some woman in the lobby saying, "How can you bring a child to this movie? This is a terrible movie for children. You know, what are you doing?" And it freaked her out so much that she didn't sit through the whole movie. She only sat through part of it. So we're going to watch it here at home so she doesn't have to deal with that. Now, my question for you is, knowledge is power, right? So I know this is a hard, in my opinion, this is something everybody should be exposed to. What about you?
I completely agree. I've been telling my kiddos since like age 2, there's bad people out there that like to, could kidnap kids and don't always look like a bad person, but you always have to be aware of surroundings and situations and just know that, again, and it's a very situational aware thing where, it's not every bad person is out there, but in these instances, like with the way children can be hoaxed and manipulated before they know the world. So children have magical thinking up to about age 5 to 7. Okay. So in order to corrupt that magical source of wellness, right, because they view the world through a lens where they believe, even if they're abused, even if bad things happen to them, they like to believe in the greater good. That's why they're so easily, coerced, and you don't even have to tell them that you're coercing them or abusing them. You just have to tell them that's the norm, right? Or this is happening. They don't know what's happening.
Right,
So I do believe that children need to be aware of these things, but it's how you need to do it at a developmentally appropriate, go through the levels, right? So let's say, there's going to be a big difference between a preschool age child, then you're going to go into kindergarten, which is kind of cut off, right? And then you start school age. Then you want to split it 1st to 3rd grade and then 3rd to 5th, because children tend to develop more and understand more. And then you want to go, middle school and then high school. So all levels need to be aware that, trafficking and even crime, violence, all that stuff occurs, but it's just how you teach it and how you tailor it to the environment and situation. So you have to train kids and try to play a game with it. I always think, like, if you're crossing the road or you're in an elevator, you say this is an area where someone could potentially, or doorways, right? Front door. Kids
Exactly.
always think it's okay to just open up doors, right? You have to make it a point saying, no, this is how this is. You start with just playing a game and like saying this is how someone could just open up the door and get you. And then as kids enter school age, you have to teach the fact that if this were to happen, how do you get out of the situation, self-defense, all that stuff is really important, how to be aware. And it's a whole concept of starting training, even a baby, your senses, your vision, your environment, because that's when actually, as far as stranger danger, that's really when it happens as a baby, because you have the developmental stage trust versus mistrust.
Right.
So babies, actually, when we talk about all these differences in culture and biases, babies are innately trained to sense or to try to learn what's danger, what's not. And if they miss that stage, then they struggle later on. So you want to form a sense of teaching them kind of what's trust and what's safe, and work on that stuff even as an infant. And then you want to build up going off developmentally. So to answer your question about the movie, it really depends on the age. There are certain sections that can be traumatizing later on, and just but it really matters what they've been exposed to previously, right? So if they are aware of the stuff, if you have a talk with them about it before, then it really matters on the family, on the situation. For example, culturally too, some children are exposed to certain things way earlier than others. You can't say every single 5-year-old is going to have the same concept like that everyone else has. Or like you're saying, in Colombia, they're used to this stuff. Kids kiss by like age 10, what I mean, or early. And my point
Right.
being is, like, you really, at least when I talk to these kiddos, they tell me, oh, well, it's a normal thing, like, women are just taught how to be sexy, whatever, at an early age, So it really varies family to family, but the basics of how to go about that movie, if that seems too scary, then I do agree that, this information does need to be out there. It's just there's certain ways that it can build upon. I love the stepladder approach, again, starting with infants, just learning trust versus mistrust, and then building on developmentally as we age, based off of that model, but then tailoring it individually to whichever child needs to get the information. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does make sense. I got a bit of a personal experience along the same lines with the ages of children learning it. We went to a neighbor's house a couple weeks ago to pick something up, and hadn't been over there before. But anyway, I walk in. There's this little 2-year-old boy, and he's kind of wandering, and barely able to walk. And he walks up to me and sticks both hands up in the air. So I pick the kid up, and I'm carrying him around the house. As we're looking at whatever it was that we were buying. And I didn't think anything of it. And then Mom says, "Well, I guess we're going to have a talk about stranger danger." And then it dawned on me, duh. I felt bad. I thought I shouldn't have done that as an adult. This is not my kid. I don't know. I know these people, but I don't know them. That was completely inappropriate. And then I thought, but kids are innate judges of character. But what you just said about they're trying to figure out what's right and wrong. So is there an issue there? It's such a complicated issue.
Yes, because to them, a hug at that age builds trust.
Right.
So
and if they're from a loving house, that's the kind of trust that's built. That's a normal, like you said, that's a normal activity from a family member, but it's kind of not necessarily normal for. So how do you teach that at that age? Or is it?
and it's also, here's the thing. You cannot, you can't overprotect and overshield people where we live in this bubble. You can't be stuck in a jail cell box and think you're okay just because you live in your little community. And, so it's one thing, don't be too scared of like everyone, but you also have to, build a source of safety, right? So how do you do that with the little ones? Again, sadly, the littlest little ones, there are developmental stages. Like first, they just are learning about touch and sight and sound. So it's all about their senses, right? They're learning sounds. So like,
Hey, Annie,
mm-hmm.
can you just hold your thought for a second? We got to go to a hard break.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
We'll pick up where we left off, and then we got a Facebook user had a question, and then I get 2 questions I want to ask. So we're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back. Don't lose your train of thought.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Producer, go to break.
No matter what you are, I will always be with you. Doesn't matter what you do, girl. Ooh, girl, want you. No matter where you go, I will always be around. Won't you tell me what you found, girl? Ooh, girl, want you. Knock down the old gray wall, be a part of it all. Nothing to say, nothing to see, nothing to do. If you would give me all, 'cause I would give it to you. Nothing would be, nothing would be, nothing would be. No matter where you go, there will always be a place. Can't you see it in my face, girl? Ooh, girl, want you. Knock down the old gray wall, be a part of it all. Nothing to say, nothing to see, nothing to do. If you would give me all, 'cause I would give it to you. Nothing would be, nothing would be, nothing would be. No matter what you are, I will always be with you. Doesn't matter what you do, girl. Ooh, girl, want you. Ooh, girl, you, girl, want you. Ooh, girl, you, girl, want you.
Welcome back, Eddie. Take up where you left off, and then we have a Facebook question. I don't know if you can see it. It says, how do people enlist your help in education services? So, but and then I got 2 questions for you. And then the producer has another video he wants to show. So finish off what you were saying.
Well, were we talking about like developmentally or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So I was saying like it's really difficult I've been doing a lot of research with senses and especially vision, right? And just development of how we get to the place where we are. Because I also do a lot of art on the side and like art projects and like eventually I want to do like artwork for trafficking victims and that sort of thing. So starting at babies, right? You want to look at the fact that first of all, everyone always says, "Oh, it's black and white vision," as at least 3 months and so forth. But research is showing that it's not just black and white. It actually starts being like grays and like really intricate things. So they're working on their vision as a baby, and they're also working on hearing, right? So of course, to them, a threat might sound like something louder, or like they're also working on their reflexes, right? So like the grip, holding, like when you grab, that a little infant, if you grab their finger, they're learning how to grab onto things. And the biggest one is getting the startle reflex, because essentially that's how they learn danger at that as a tiny, tiny little baby, right? Because when you pick them up by the arms, that's actually an initial, in the hospital, even you're evaluating a newborn baby by its ability to be able to kind of, whether jump away or, I mean, their feet still aren't developed either as far as, gripping onto stuff. That starts to develop later. But the startle reflex is one of the most interesting things, because how a baby startles is going to tell you a whole lot about the nervous system. And as you develop that reflex, basically, like if you were to drop a baby, any babies that have experienced accidental burns, which happen a lot, they used to happen a lot more back in the day when you're cooking on a stovetop, and they still do, but not as much. But burns, exposing them to water, to extreme environments, that's one of the first times they learn danger and trauma. So basically keeping them in a safe net, but also talking to them, believe it or not, even though the baby, again, isn't speaking yet, they're a sponge. They're taking in everything. So as you go by those dangers, even though you want to keep the baby safe, right? You want to keep them in that safety net to build the trust. You also want to speak out the words as to saying, this is a fire. This is dangerous. They don't know what danger, that sort of danger means, but you want to drill it into their minds. Does that make sense? So they're not going to, if you're asking, it's pretty difficult, again, dealing with the way little ones, baby to toddler, but building upon those first impressions, again, you want to both master that milestone as far as trust versus mistrust and their reflexes, and all of their correct development as far as like all their senses go and their learning milestones and that sort of thing. So you want to give them comfort, but you also want to teach them the discomfort, if that makes sense, not through exposure directly, putting the child in danger, right? But speaking to them about it, and start with little things like, I'm taking you for a stroller ride. Hi, baby. We're crossing the street. You don't know this yet, but I'm walking down the street and I'm looking both ways. Stupid stuff like that, right? That might sound stupid, but just as a nursery rhyme, just as music is one of the greatest things that builds on to the human memory up until from baby, even in a stomach, up until death, right? People with Alzheimer's, they still remember music. So speech, music, that sort of thing, it sticks. So as far as your question as to how do we deal with, when children are still that age where they don't really differentiate between, strangers or what's that and what's not. Again, it's just, I like that step ladder approach and just building on, knowing what stage they're at in life and trying your best to cover both, again, you don't want to be stepping in hot lava, but you want to teach them about what hot lava is at their level. Right. So whether that's through, simple song like lava is hot, you don't want to step in the lava, or like that stupid song, The Floor is Lava, that all the kids play. You can build off of something like that and just teach them what dangers to avoid, So
somebody was asking, how do people enlist your help in educational services? So if you want to plug your
it depends. I do have a website where, I have like a general introductory course and that sort of thing. I also have an affiliate link for like a human trafficking course. And then I also do personalized trainings, right? So if interested, again, going off of whatever the people's interests are, whether it's safety for children or adults or group lessons or, then you basically fill out the contact form and say what your interest is. Oops, sorry. Okay. You basically say what the interest in services is, and then I do like a customized training because I'm always working on research.
Daddy,
And,
the producer's asking if you could type the links in the box. Can you see
sure.
that?
Yeah. Let me go off on my services.org. I have a contact thing. Whoops. Services.
Yeah, that's great because you are a wealth of information that folks really do need to take advantage of.
Oh, thank you. And again, I'm always like researching this stuff because I just want to be able to serve my patients like to the best of their ability, because I just deal with such a great population. I want to be able to help them out, and meet them where they're at. Let me just go into, right. So I have a couple links here that are used. This is just a general one. Oops. Do I type into private chat or how do I?
Yeah, type it in the private chat in the box. Yeah.
And there is contact on the bottom, but I'll send the exact link. Oops. Okay, here it is. So this is the contact link.
Yeah.
Bluebellbusiness.org. Okay.
Yeah. So this is should be okay.
So,
So
when,
there's
when you're ready, I get 2 questions before we show the next quick video.
And then, whoops, sorry, one sec. And then the actual courses, you can find a couple on here.
If anybody wants to talk to Addie or us, please call the show, 508-974-4231.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, you guys. Sorry.
Well, obviously, Chet said earlier that he believes everybody should get the information. I agree with that. Lee does. Obviously, because the 3 of us wrote a book, and it ran #1 on Amazon for like 5 or 6 weeks, and it's geared towards children. And I'd like your thoughts and comments on that.
Actually, I really like that book. I have a bookshelf of like my favorite books, right? So I have your guys' book, and I really like more so the pictures because they're broken down simply where you can teach, and again, you guys touch base upon some of the stuff I was talking about, senses, environment, that sort of thing, and knowing what's safe, what's not, just some of the obvious things that kids need to be aware of.
Yeah.
And especially, when it comes to like kids these days, they come across a whole slew of like online safety and like gangs and all that sort of thing. So I really like how you prep the scene for like, basically you can use it as a template for any given situation, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Next question. And you and I have had many cups of coffee, and I've asked you this question many times, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I'm going to ask it again. Why do you think people have no interest in paying us for our training?
That you would have to ask people that, hold on one second, sorry. Sorry, 1 second. Hold on. How do I mute myself real quick?
The bottom of the screen, there should be a little microphone thing. Just press M on your keyboard.
Is there a way to like mute myself real quick?
Yeah, just press M.
All right. Hold on.
There should be a little microphone thing. Scrolling below.
Microphone.
It says not muted.
So just
hold on just 1 second. I'll be right back. One second.
No worries. No worries. Wow. It's a good show. She's a great guest.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Man, this is an emotional subject for me. Damn.
Yeah, it's an emotional subject for everybody.
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with kids.
Yeah. Well, not some not more or less than others, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Addie's back. Mr. Producer, do you want to play that Hollywood video, please?
Click on your Eddie. Click on your button again. There you go. You got
Okay,
it.
but anyway, yeah, go ahead, play whatever you guys want to do. And Reen, sorry, I don't know about financials. That's not business is not my specialty, sadly.
Yeah.
I wish it was, but I'm not the best at business.
Here we go.
The heart of the matter, let's set the stage for what went down with Sound of Freedom. The film is based on a powerful true story following the heroic journey of Tim Ballard, a former government operative, as he battles to rescue innocent children from human trafficking. With a compelling and significant story, it's hard to believe it faced any challenges.
And then he's looking at them, all the Marvel characters, and he says, "This is how I saved the world."
But as we'll soon discover, Hollywood had other plans in store. What's the story behind this baffling situation? How can such a meaningful and successful film be ignored? The simple answer lies in the responsibility of media companies. Instead of placing the burden of proof on the film itself, it should be on the media companies to acknowledge its significance. While critiquing a movie is one thing, completely overlooking its existence raises questions about fairness and recognition in the industry. The story behind Sound of Freedom goes beyond entertainment. It sheds light on a global issue that affects countless lives. The film's journey to the silver screen became a battle against unseen adversaries who were determined to keep its potent message from reaching the masses. Mark Wahlberg's unwavering commitment to truth and justice is a testament to the strength of the human spirit against formidable odds. The release of Jim Caviezel's latest film, Sound of Freedom, has sent shockwaves through Hollywood's elites, as it surprisingly dominates the box office. Going head-to-head with the latest Mission Impossible installment, Sound of Freedom, proves audiences crave powerful storytelling that doesn't adhere to the typical Hollywood narrative. In a recent interview with Fox News, Jim Caviezel passionately asserts that Hollywood fears the sound of freedom and is trembling in their boot. The film's message encourages the public to listen to their heart, which resonates deeply with audiences. Despite mainstream media's lack of coverage, Caviezel remains undeterred, expressing satisfaction with the film's initial $2 million opening weekend, but eagerly desiring more success to raise further awareness for the children impacted by the issues highlighted in the movie. The public's overwhelming response shows that authentic storytelling captures hearts and captivates audiences. "We're being shafted by mainstream media. We're not getting any coverage," Caviezel said. "And I'm happy with the $2 million, he said in a reference to tickets purchased in the opening weekend, but I want a lot more because I want the children." Mark Wahlberg, renowned actor and producer, is the driving force behind Sound of Freedom. In a recent revelation that sent shockwaves through the industry, he courageously exposed the evil forces that sought to bury this impactful project.
So to be able to give my kids a better life and follow and pursue their dreams, whether it be my daughter as an equestrian, my son as a basketball player, my youngest son as a golfer.
In a candid interview, he unveils the attempts to blacklist the film and hush its powerful message, leaving us all questioning the darker side of Hollywood. So, what exactly did Mark Wahlberg say which has sent shockwaves to Hollywood? Online, viral posts are making the rounds, alleging that Hollywood actor Mark Wahlberg made a striking statement. Hollywood pedophiles have nowhere left to hide. These claims have gained traction on Twitter, garnering hundreds of thousands of views, and were initially accompanied by a People's Voice article, which has since been deleted. However, remnants of the story's blurb shared on social media suggest that Wahlberg had also asserted that a potent group of Hollywood insiders had initiated a war against the industry elite. The news has stirred significant attention and speculation about what these revelations could mean for the industry's future. According to the STG report online, Wahlberg exposed a disturbing side of Hollywood, shedding light on a dark network allegedly involved in pedophilia, child prostitution, and human trafficking. He refers to those in control as sick freaks and claims a pervasive culture of silence within the industry exists. Speaking out against elite pedophilia is believed to be punishable by death, creating an environment.
So, Addie, thoughts or comments on what you just saw?
I mean, yeah, so business, again, I'm not a business whiz. I do what I do, but I'm not usually like bought out by money. Like, I don't do it for money. I've spent my lifetime doing healthcare and helping others. So I just do it more for a servitude. So business isn't my stronghold. However, studying this stuff, of course, I had to run some statistics and logistics and learn when I first got certified to be an anti-trafficking consultant. I learned a lot about the business ends of, why people might want to try to not have this corruption basically stopped, right? It's like billions and billions, and also it's the second the second most profitable criminal business in the world, and it's a worldwide thing, and basically going after drugs. And another thing is that, when people hear the word trafficking again, they just think of, well, traffic, right? Movement, and they also pertain it to criminality and drugs, and people tend to blow it under the rug because they think, oh, this is a law enforcement issue. And of course, the media doesn't want to touch it because who funds the media? People with billions. So you don't know if those people are involved in this or that, or who they're really entangled with, right? So it's a sad reality where, news in general always tends to keep putting all this negative Nancy stuff out there, right? They make a lot of money and reactions off of other people's misery. They'll post, oh, person went hiking and got lost and died on a hike, and the whole world reacts and they click like, oh, so sad, so sad, so sad, right? That's the technical online response versus someone, if they were saying, hey, I'm doing so well, I'm working on my business, I'm working on myself, I'm working on being a better human being, I'm serving my community, woohoo, that you don't get as many likes. So media in general does go after negative events. So you got to wonder why, if they do aim for those dislikable, melancholy type of situations, why? Oh, sorry, I was reading the message. Why is it that, if they get more reaction based off of negative news, then how come, this stuff, which is really, really dark and spooky, isn't brought out there? You're gonna, and a lot of it has to do with probably either the money aspect, the comfort, and also that we have a huge issue of the amount of people that are just entangled and entwined in this stuff, whether it's the labor industry, or the sex industry or domestic situations, and then you entangle it together with the other most profitable crime business, which is of course the drugs. And you're not gonna, when you're dealing with drugs, that's like, hello, those people don't want to be touched upon. So it's very complicated. It's too complicated to discuss like over a podcast, but it has a lot to do, I'm sure, with, exactly what they were saying in that movie. Like the information doesn't really want to be brought upon. And also, it's a very difficult subject. So, I think The Sound of Freedom did a good job in portraying some of the darkness as far as when it comes to children and how those children really end up in those situations, which definitely needs to be out there, right? Because, a stuffed teddy bear has a lot of significance and a meaning to a child, right?
Yeah.
That stuffy gives them that comfort, and it's so sickening. So there's just a lot that does need to be shed light upon, but it's also, critiques and critics and whatever, also, of course, going to always criticize and say, well, this could affect this person or that. I read a report from Polaris, which that's the biggest supplier of a lot of statistics and data when it comes to human trafficking, at least recently, right? And there's been some changes to them, but basically they were saying that, well, some of the imagery or some certain topics or certain wording, anything can really offset, the way you say things can really offset people. And a lot of psychology goes into it too, where, a person's either going to run away from the topic, completely, or they might be interested in it. But most are public-wise speaking, they might say, well, this isn't going to get ratings, because people tend to group it either, if they're not going off of being scared of the criminals in those drug and trafficking business moguls, then they're scared of the reactions of the public, right? And again, the public tends to really pay attention to negative news for some reason. So why are they so scared of the reactions, you know? And again, if you read some of the Polaris stuff, it says, I mean, theirs is the only critique I've read recently, you know, because it talked more about like how victims might portray it. And of course, again, everyone is individualized. So you can't say that one person who reacts to something is going to how everyone else is going to react to it. This stuff is highly sensitized. And again, everyone's going to have a different viewpoint based off of what their previous experience with the topic was. So that's my 2 cents on that. Is I think it's a combination of both, you know, who's involved with business, you know, big business. And big money, and then
Could you post your QR code again so people could scan it?
QR code.
Yeah, it's up in the corner up there. Oh, folks, you can see on the screen.
Oh yeah, okay, it's up there. Yeah.
Okay, we've covered our hour here, so we're going to have to wrap this up there, folks. We're going to be making a big move to prime time here this coming Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to be continuing this discussion with Addie. I hope. Yeah, there it is. Just click on her QR code to get further information about her, and we will be wrapping this up. It's been a great conversation today. It had a lot more of an effect on me than I thought it was going. Don't get all cheery-eyed like that. But anyway, moving right along. Thanks, folks. Renee, you want to take us out?
Yeah, Addie, you going to be able to join us Wednesday night at 8 o'clock?
Yeah, and you know, again, so we do get more viewers and people interested in this topic, I just want to bring it out there. Again, I'm not a negative Nancy, but I am a realist. You know, I view things objectively, and I both have subjective. But in order to get people interested in the topic, we have to involve some sort of both realism into how important all of this is, but also not make it, you know, so it's all doom and gloom. There's a positivity that we can make a difference in. Again, currently all the stats seem to be going up, right? It only keeps increasing in cases and cases and cases, but every one person that's aware or learned something new or has a better understanding of human development or how the human psyche works, how these criminals work too, and stuff like that. That's a positive thing in my view. So I just want to end note on that matter that, you know, I have great hope for through these, you know, through social media, through education, through getting people together in like-mindedness. I think, you know, it's a very dark topic, but there is, you know, some lightness at the end of the tunnel in the sense that we're making a difference. And I'd like to, I just wanted to end on a positive note that, you know, it's not all doom and gloom, so we can get people interested in the stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's why we are Real Talk with Real People, sponsored by Peace Mind Training, Global Elite Tactical Training, i12 GIA, Global Intelligence and Analyst, and the FFN Network.
Yeah,
So,
and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my good friend Addie.
Definitely.
Family nurse practitioner. We've been friends for years. We have coffee together frequently. She's a board-certified family nurse practitioner. I affectionately call her Doc because, after all, she is a doctor. You know, we're proud to have her available when we discuss this topic, and we look forward to the show on Wednesday night. Addie, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Your insight,
Thanks for having me, guys.
Your insight has been tremendous today.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Okay,
thank you.
take us out.
See you Wednesday.